Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular council meeting of District of Summerland, Monday, May 28th. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. And first order is the adoption of the minutes from the 23rd of April, May 14th, special regular council, etc. Down May 14th, special council meeting. Are there any errors or admissions? None? Any changes? Okay, motion to...
I will make a motion to accept those minutes.
Okay, thank you. Second, Councillor Barco, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, public hearing report, 2.2. This is just for adoption. Any comments from CAO?
You're opening a public hearing.
Not yet, no. This is the report from May 14th.
Yeah, it's a minutes that you're adopting from the public hearing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. Motion to adopt, Councillor Peak. Sorry, Councillor Holmes. Momentary lapse. Okay, resolution to adopt tonight's agenda.
Wait.
Any change? Pardon me?
We have to vote on that.
The adoption.
Oh, sorry. You got me so going, Mr. Holmes, and it's a massive crowd we have here tonight. Okay, motion, okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. This is not starting out well, is it? Resolution to adopt tonight's agenda. Any changes?
There are no changes suggested.
Okay. Councillor Trainer, Councillor Booth, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to public and statutory hearings. I'd like to call the public hearing to order for zoning bylaw amendment for 8320 Prairie Valley Road, bylaw number 2018-012. And I'll just outline the public hearing process. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are subject to this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. Now I'd like the development planner to introduce the proposed bylaws, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As you noted, this is a public hearing for bylaw 2018-012. This is regarding a rezoning application to rezone a property from RDH, which is residential duplex housing, to RSD1, which is residential medium lot zone. The property is located at 8320 Prairie Valley Road. There's an existing single detached house on the property. The purpose of the application is to be able to subdivide the property into 2 single-family lots. If approved, the property owner would be able to apply for a 2-lot subdivision application. The property is designated low-density residential in the district's official community plan. The proposed zoning change is compatible with the OCP. Specifically, the proposed RSD1 zone is meant to provide a zone to accommodate the development of single detached housing on standard urban lots having 4 urban services. Lands must be designated as low-density residential under the district's OCP. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, have we had any correspondence?
No correspondence has been received.
Good, thank you. Okay, now the opportunity for public input. I'm going to ask 3 times for For anybody in attendance would like to present their views for the first time?
You may want to ask for the proponent first if they'd like to speak.
Okay, yeah. Would the proponent like to speak? Okay, come forward, please. Sorry about that.
Hi, I'm Ann Bennett. I have the property that has a tongue that sticks down. So I'm just curious, since the slope is really, really, really bad behind our house, how do they propose to make a two-lot decision that won't affect my hillside, which may undermine my foundation of my house? Because my house is 10 feet away from that property stake.
That's a proponent. Okay, now, yeah, it's okay, thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Okay, I'll proceed. For the first time, would anybody like to speak to this issue, please? For a second time, would anybody in attendance like to speak to this issue? And for a third time, anybody like to speak to this particular issue? Okay, I would like the motion to adjourn the public hearing, please. Councillor Peak, Councillor Boot, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Oh, let's go. Oh, I guess that's why everybody's here. Delegation from the civics class. Mr. Stathers.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your time tonight. We're the Civics 11 class from Summerland Secondary School, and we want to make a change here in Summerland, our home. We're coming to you with the intention of banning plastic shopping bags through a bylaw we intend to create with you. Now, despite Summerland's relatively small population, the amount of plastic which ends up in our landfills per year is astonishing. This is mostly caused by Summerland being a tourist epicenter. Nearly 52 tons of plastic bags were buried in our landfill in 2016. This weight is equivalent to 3.5 garbage trucks. Without a newfound alternative, the plastic waste will continue to overflow into our ecosystem and become a catalyst to an ultimate destruction of our environment, ruining the aesthetic of Summerland, the health and safety of our wildlife, and eventually, our community's health.
Plastic bags have been known to clog storm sewers. They sometimes ruin the look of a town center by blowing in the wind and getting caught in bags. Animals all around the world swallow pieces of plastic, choke on them, and get stuck in plastic bags daily. Chemicals from plastic pollute our land, our water, and often our bodies. Does plastic biodegrade? The answer is a simple no. It basically breaks down into smaller bits of plastic called microplastic. These pieces of plastic get into our soils, waterways, and are eaten by animals. Microplastics can be consumed by sea life, like primary producers such as plankton, or directly by fish, and ultimately end up in our foods. It is also transported by and consumed by both marine and inland birds. Plastic is essentially everywhere we go.
Now, plastic does take less water per pound to make than hemp and cotton. 1 pound of plastic uses 22 gallons of water. Cotton uses 1,329 pounds of water, and hemp uses 232. Now, these are large amounts, but when you also consider the oil intake, pollution after usage, chemicals, durability, and overall look, the most logical and forward-thinking alternative is to refuse plastic and use natural fiber bags and reuse them long-term. Now, jute, linen, and canvas are also great alternatives. Similar to hemp, jute uses barely any to no pesticides.
So what are some other alternatives we could look to? Compostable waste bin liners are available for retail at reasonable prices. This, rather than using non-biodegradable plastic bags, will break down more easily with less plastic in our landfills. Conclusively, shaving down the amount of plastic left in both our landfills and in our town center. We also feel it's important to work with businesses in this initiative, and we've been striving to work hand in hand with those in our community. Companies like Critter Corner, Purple Hemp Co., Zia Stonehouse Restaurant, and True Grain have already given us letters of support. In such a tight-knit community, we feel it is important to rely on their support and their knowledge. With this ban, Summerland will become an eye-catching example, portraying forward thinking and progression. This, we believe, will attract tourism through those who are concerned about the environment. We can continue to look with the welcoming community we truly are, with picturesque scenery and a charming town center without plastic bags blowing around. Summerland can become a leader to other southern Okanagan towns and even expand this leadership to all of the Okanagan. We contacted the City of Victoria and asked about their bylaw, a similar ban to what we had in mind. They are enforcing rules, educating their citizens, and trying to cooperate with companies and businesses. Their bylaw permits a one-year period of transition, during which bags cost more money than average. After this year, fines are strictly enforced. Feedback from Victoria about the bylaw has been very positive, and we hope to see similarities between us and them. We understand that there will be obstacles, lots of questions, and time needed. But we believe that moving forward with a plastic bag bylaw in Summerland is good for our community. With over 400 signatures on our petition and the public's enthusiasm to be engaged, we are confident that Summerlanders can come together and make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you sit down, I did neglect to get an proper introduction of each of you.
My name's Olivia.
My name's Justin.
Could use loud.
And I'm Jenna. Doug.
How do you do?
Core.
Actually,
Sing.
very well done. Okay, Council, any questions of our presenters? Councillor Holmes.
I was just wondering how you, as a class, decided to target single-use plastic bags as opposed to, say, single-use plastic straws or yogurt pots or any number of other things made of plastic.
Yeah, of course. So when we came together as a group, we started talking about ideas, and plastic came up. And we discussed the idea of what kind of plastic we wanted to focus on. And we decided that we needed to take it one small step at a time and work towards a greater goal. So we decided to start with plastic bags, as they're one of the first things you think of when you think of plastic.
Okay, Councillor Peak.
Yes, I want to thank you for your presentation. It's excellent. When you worked as a group, how did you work on your research? And would you be interested in working with us towards educating the public on this particular issue so we can begin to encourage the kind of change that obviously your group and the research you've done shows would be advantageous?
We would love to work with you, and especially educating the public. We've really considered doing education nights, putting pamphlets out there, putting videos out online for people that are able to access those. And doing our research together as a group, we kind of said, all right, everybody has a period of time, go find as much as you can, make sure it's from a reliable source, and we'll put our heads together and see what we can come up for an end result.
Thank you.
Councillor Booth.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and I apologize for my squeaky voice. I'm just getting over a cold. My question follows up on Councillor Holmes's question when you mentioned that you decided to take one step at a time and choose single-use plastic bags. I'm wondering if, I understand what single-use means, but I'm wondering if that also encompasses the multi-use plastic bags, so the reusable bags that you'll see at local grocery stores. Does that include that? Or, because you mentioned cotton and hemp.
I assume the ones you're referring to are the ones that, say, Nestor's has that are made with like
For example,
polyester. Yeah, so we're focusing on looking at the Victoria bylaw as an example, and they're trying to move away from those as well, because they basically do the same thing when they get used up and go into our landfills. So they're focusing on paper bags that have at least 40% post-consumer recycled paper in them, and natural fiber bags. And that's something we can work towards and decide together as a municipality what we want to do.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
Thank you for that presentation. I fully support this idea. First of all, I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think we should work towards it. It's going to be something that needs to go back for some further discussion, obviously. My biggest question is, have you spoken with the business owners of, say, the grocery stores? Because I think that's probably where the most plastic bags are used. And what is the response at that level, or do we know yet?
So we have been starting to get in contact with them. It has been a little difficult trying to decide if they want to direct us to the manager of a local store or one of their higher-up employees. A lot of those companies are working towards using less plastic, which is great. The main thing is finding a contact that we can work directly with within their chain and talking about solutions, talking about what their issues are and what their worries are. So we haven't fully gone to that level, but we really want to.
Councillor Holmes and Councillor Barkle.
I just wish to follow up on both Councillor Booth and Councillor Carlson's comments there. When I was your age, it was all paper bags that we'd get. You go shopping, they give you a paper bag. And then I guess sometime in the early 1980s, giving my age away here, they did away with paper bags for the plastic bags that we use now. And we were told at the time, it's better for the environment, that we have to save the trees. And so my point is, my concern is, what are we replacing it with, right? Mm-hmm. And you mentioned hemp and linen and all these things are good, but right now the reality is that most people, when they use these giveaway kind of cotton bags that are heavily dyed, which have company logos on, when you wash them, it all comes off and goes into our into our water, right? I don't know if those are any better. And so I guess the question is, how do we get from the plastic to the hemp or the linen bags, where cutting out what I would say is not really an acceptable alternative right now, whereas if we just ban plastic bags, that's what it would go to.
Mm-hmm. So the biggest part we feel is education and encouragement amongst the public. So talking about getting a few bags that don't have any plastic in them whatsoever and continuously reusing them for as many years as we can. I know many families that have the same 6 reusable bags that they've had since their 13-year-old child was born, and it has done them well. But yes, educating the public and telling them that this is a great alternative, but there's still plastic on it, and every time you wash it before you take it to get more groceries or go shopping again, the plastic can come out, go into a washing machine, not get caught in the filter, and go into our waterways. So finding alternatives, encouraging stores to find the alternatives that work better, as well as enforcing them legally, are the biggest steps we need to take next to education.
Can I just follow up?
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Barkle.
Yes, and then on that, I think, people don't really like being told what to do, and they especially don't like governments telling them what to do. And I'm not sure if we'd even have the capacity to enforce a bylaw like this. We just don't have the people out there to monitor it. And I personally, just speaking for myself, I would like to see that education piece. And that's why you need to educate people. And to me, the place to start would be the Chamber of Commerce. And I would really encourage you guys to go to a Chamber of Commerce board meeting and talk to the Chamber of Commerce, and maybe start a education program with the Chamber and local businesses. And I think that could be a lot more effective and more powerful than us going up there with our fists saying, you've got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just a comment.
Councillor Barkle.
And just I know first that I do share Councillor Holmes' concern that that the alternative may not be very desirable either, without that education component and whatever other things you can think of. But I was also wondering if your group has a position on plastic bags at corner stores such as Max and 7-Eleven. Would your proposal extend to those corner stores?
Yes, our proposal that we're proposing to you right now does extend to those stores, all stores in our community.
Councillor Carlson.
Just to follow up on my question about the grocery store, last week I went to Costco. I don't know if anyone's been to Costco in the last 15, 20, whatever, but they don't use plastic bags, and I don't think they ever have. And so I think that we need to remember that it is possible to go grocery shopping without bags.
Councillor Traynor.
I think your presentation was very good. Thank you for coming tonight. It's very timely, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of communities across Canada and around the world that are banning plastic bags, so it's really good that you guys have brought this to us, and I fully support it. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges, but like Councillor Carlson said, it can be done. It's just about changing people's habits. Like, we get very used to convenience, like even I do. You know, you go into a store and you forget a bag and you just pay 5 cents for an extra one. So it's just about changing habits, which can be done. I think in Summerland, the reality is that, well, many people shop here. We also shop in Penticton and West Kelowna, so I think it might be worthwhile to reach out to those communities and see where they are, or if they're taking any steps to ban plastic bags, because we can ban them here, but it's so easy to pick up groceries, you know, at Save On Foods in Penticton and bring those plastic bags back here. So I think that that's something to consider, is maybe challenge the students in Penticton to something similar, find out what they're doing, and maybe even contact the RDOS and see if a regional ban is something that's being explored.
Thank you.
I guess one comment that I would make to add to that is that, yes, people are shopping in other areas, but I think what's being pressed here is the education aspect, so that what hopefully would happen is that, you know, if I were to make the mistake to go to Costco, which I have done, you know, I would take my own bags there and use them anywhere. You know, you just have them in the car. Right now, I have them in the car, and I forget to take them in, just as somebody's just mentioned. So it's that habit that has to take place and the education that's there. And I think by, you know, educating our own population here in the municipality, they're going to be big emissaries for that action wherever they go. So I think that'll be a big part of the broader education that can take place, you know, and by Summerland doing it, if we can move ahead, there'll be an impact, and you've done such an excellent job. I'm sure you'll get some media coverage out of it, so there's nothing wrong with that either. So Councillor Peak?
Shall I bring the motion
please.
forward? That the presentation from the Summerland Secondary School Grade 11 Civics class on proposal to consider a plastic bag ban bylaw dated May 24th, 2018, be received for information. And that we work with them on the opportunity for an education process.
Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Barco. Thank you.
And I would, I just was going to put forward the resolution, and I'll put it to Councillor Peak in case she wants to change hers, that we direct staff to investigate the banning of plastic bags and research it and prepare a report for future consideration, a report with alternatives.
I think that's a fair amendment, Councillor Barco.
I think that's the intent, though, by receiving for information, that's the intent.
I would need clarity from council, though, that I mean, we have a list of about 20 bylaws, although staff themselves feel that that plastic bans is something that should be entertained. We have at least 20 bylaws that need to be updated from legislation because of outdated legislation. So I would ask council for direction on whether when a bylaw is written, there's good examples, but there's spin-off on other, our ticketing bylaw, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just one bylaw it affects. So it probably would be a fairly big job for staff, which is fine, but we would need direction to bump something else out of queue.
I think considering that, what was the last part of the motion that you added on? again?
That we'd look to work with them for an education.
Okay, because I think leaving it like that allows room for staff to be considering their next moves, and they can bring things back to us. I think specific direction and emotion regarding, say, workload, et cetera, would be too much at this point.
May I, since I've brought it forward, perhaps I would ask, and if Councillor Barco will second it, that we'll just leave it at receipt, and we'll let staff go away, and we can have further discussion about any possibilities or making a status decision on whether it would be picked up in a particular length of time or whatever with staff.
I appreciate that. Is that okay, Councillor Barco?
Well, I was thinking that we would just maybe add it to the bottom of the queue. I don't like to see, it just feels like if we don't do something more, it's just going to go away, and the next year's class will come back with the same proposal, and a year will have gone by.
I think you should get a motion, just get a motion on the table, council, and then have that discussion once it's on the
So
table.
we've got a mover of the motion suggested. Do we have a seconder?
The motion as moved is that it's received for information?
Yes.
Yes.
Seconder? Councillor Trainer, thank you. Okay, further discussion, because there's nothing wrong with adding on an amendment at this time, or if the motion doesn't go anywhere because the amendment is substantially different, then you can come up with a different motion. Councillor Holmes.
I think we need an explanation of what it means to be received for information.
Okay. CEO.
It gets received for information, and then there's no further action taken on it until either council asks us to look at the work priority plan and to see where it can fit into the plan, but being received for information wouldn't be any more action at this time.
I see. Okay, good point. Okay, so I think Councillor Barco's suggestion that it be placed at the bottom of the queue might be reasonable, but we are all aware of the load that sudden changes in our plans for workload mean to the full staff and so on. So if you want to take that under advisement, there's nothing wrong with an amendment to what we've got if you so feel, if you really feel strongly about it. Councillor Trainers first.
Is it reasonable then to put it into the queue at the bottom, so then at least it's on the radar? And with knowing that staff already has a lot to do, at least then it's in the queue? Is that reasonable, or does that add?
Certainly, council, that is something that can be done. The problem with that is you get your long list of tasks. I mean, you could just ask staff to work with the high school students to look at further opportunities and report back to council. Typically, what you would do, it perhaps would be to ask, to refer it back to staff for further review and report. We would then come forward and say, we could actually do this by spending 5 hours on this, or we could do this by spending 3 days, or so if you then you at least get a report back at an upcoming meeting. We'd have the chance to talk to the students a little bit further, find out how much they'd be able to do, what we'd be able to do, and then you can look at it in the big picture on if it truly is a lengthy process or not.
Councillor Carlson, do you want to make an amendment to the motion? Pardon me?
So what I would
She
like...
can make a suggested...
What I would like to say is exactly what Linda just said. I believe that if we just receive this for information and put it over here, it's not a very encouraging way of participating in civil society. And so we should be doing exactly this. And so I would like to propose an amendment to the motion that would see us asking staff for
Further
review and a report back to council.
I would regard that as a friendly amendment.
No, it's not. That's not a friendly amendment. That's an amendment to the main motion.
So we'll vote on the amendment.
So you need a second to the...
Okay, yep, okay.
I'll second that motion.
Councillor Barkle. Thanks, CAO. Okay, Councillor Booth?
Would it be okay to ask the civics class another question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we...
I'm not sure who to address, maybe to Mr. Stathers. Given that this is a grade 11 class, and we are almost finished the school year. Would this project carry on for next year in the Civics 11 class? Or maybe there's a Civics 12 class, I don't know.
The provincial government, in all of its wisdom, has canceled Civic Studies 11 starting next year. So there's only a month to go this year. This is our big project. However, there are courses like Social Justice 12, which I'm hoping some of these students have signed up for. And if the teacher of that class, encouraged perhaps by some of the students, wishes to carry it on, it's definitely possible.
And can I make a further comment on that? And if we were to, if council was to pass a motion to further review and report, staff would arrange to meet with the class in the very near future, and because we anticipate it coming back to probably the next council meeting with the next steps. We would meet with the next class and talk about what the steps would be, so there would still be action happening for the next month.
Okay, thank you, that kind of answers that question. And I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Stathers, and people in your class.
I think, to respond, Councillor Booted, as the CAO just said, it kind of sets the wheels in motion. I wouldn't want the civics class to feel that because of timing and the amount of time left that things are kind of dead in the water. That's not the case. When you bring something forward as you have, and with Councillor Carlson's suggestion, then you get some interaction with our staff, and it can move forward regardless of whether the class is there or not. The initiation is being made, and council can make some steps, and if nothing happens with this term because of workload, then it'd be a prime suggestion to another council to move it forward. An initiative like this is not a difficult one to encourage when you've got environmental concerns involved, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Mayor. I know, knowing some of the students in the class, I know they're passionate, and just because they're not in a formal classroom setting, I think they'll carry on pursuing this, and even imagine Mr. Stathers will come out of retirement to help out.
Oh.
Maybe he'll run for council.
It's okay, so where are we now?
You're going to vote on the amendment.
Okay.
To start with, and then you vote on the main question.
Okay. First of all in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Carried. Now a motion to consider the amended motion in total. Okay. We need a mover?
It's already moved.
already
I
moved.
have a question.
Okay,
Just
go ahead.
a matter of process.
Yeah.
Will this be something that is worked on with Tammy, or?
Well, we'll have to look at, it will be,
depend on who's got
one of us
time.
will be in contact with for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the amended motion?
Of the main.
Opposed? Of the main motion, I meant. All in favor? We got that? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, class. That was a great presentation and a great initiative.
Thank you.
And I'm glad we sorted it out so that we could have something move forward with you, and it's going to be looked at and worked on. Thank you. Okay. Now's an opportunity for the public to comment on any highlighted item in the agenda. Would anybody like to speak to any item that's okay, yeah. Is your name, please?
Good evening, Mayor Waterman and Councilor. I'm Sandy Nicholson, and I'd like to let you know that my husband and I have an apple orchard in Prairie Valley, and I'm here tonight to encourage you to pass the resolution or the motion on the resolution regarding putting a moratorium, or discussing that with the ALR and the province to put a moratorium on where cannabis can be grown. And I would like you to pass that resolution, and would also like you to consider any other measures that would be necessary to ensure that cannabis is grown in a secure, odor-free building in an industrial area. and not in agricultural land.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, Grant Thompson, 24119 Prairie Valley Road. Also want to speak on item 13.1 on the agenda. First, I wanted to give a thanks to Ms. Tynan and staff for organizing the open house last week regarding the cannabis growing and cannabis regulations coming down from the federal government. It certainly answered a lot of questions, but showed that there's still a lot of questions that are still unanswered. Not due to staff's inability to deal with the issue, but really dealing with the federal government and the provincial government, their inability to answer those questions and streamline the process so that we all know what's going on. I'm also in support of the moratorium. The federal legislation appears to be going towards secure facilities with secure walls and 24-hour security and surveillance. We've seen what's happened in one case on Dale Meadows Road, where the scraping of the topsoil of about 2 or 3 feet deep, ending up in a pile of 20-foot tall topsoil in preparation of what I believe was supposed to be additional cannabis growing. Certainly not something that the ALR was ever designed for. If you're not using native soil, then it's not really an agricultural operation. I support the moratorium and propose that cannabis should be an industrial operation. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to speak to any item?
Excuse me. Mel Cozen, 13917 Prairie Valley Road, 14103 Prairie Valley Road also. I won't repeat what the previous speakers have said. All the points have been excellent, and I think definitely stand. The only additional information I would like to add right now is, and again, I'm adjacent, as you probably previously have known, I'm adjacent to the property. I'm a Christmas tree grower and also a Haskap grower. With the Haskap berries, this is something that I could be looking at your own picking. I certainly don't need smells coming in from an operation right next door to us. So I'm definitely in support of the motion that you folks are proposing, and I do encourage that this be carried through. Just a brief comment in terms of the scraping of the soil and so forth. Having done a little bit of real estate now and again, I'm quite aware of speculative endeavors. In my opinion, the cannabis thing is highly speculative. People want to get rich very quickly without doing a lot of work. And I don't think the municipality, I don't think the government should be involved in encouraging this kind of activity. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Ron Moser, 14305 Prairie Valley Road. My wife Arlene, we live kitty corner from the operation that's going on on Dale Meadows Road, and we support the moratorium. But what we find is the odor that's coming out of that place is just very intrusive when we're sitting on our back deck. We're not wanting to sell our property or anything like that, but the time will come. And if that ever happens, that's going to be a strike against our sale of our property. So once again, that's one of our biggest concerns right there, is the odor. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to come forward? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move, see, where am I? There we go. Okay, just going to do my mayor's report, which is brief. In Summerland right now, we're launching into an exciting period for Summerland as Action Fest kicks off. It's, as anybody knows, it's always a huge event, and there's a great commitment to entertainment throughout the whole weekend. The park is a great place to sit back and relax and enjoy the many talented performers. The Man of Steel event is special for families and hardcore athletes. My kids started their tri-careers here and kept coming back year after year. The slow pitch is massive as always. Also remember the parade, which is the centerpiece at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and our downtown will be humming. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Pat Bell and the rest of the Action Festival Committee for another great organized weekend. Also, I'd like to thank staff for their extra effort in dealing effectively with and staying on top of the flooding issues in the community. I'm not sure that everybody realized that if a strong, fast, and effective effort had not taken place with the issues on Aeneas Creek, especially in the Garnet Avenue area, we could easily have seen water flowing down into the downtown core. I think our CAO will have a bit of an update on Okanagan lake levels, but lakeshore property owners have been reinforcing their docks in anticipation of potential higher water and wave action that might come with it. That's my report. CEO. Yep.
Okay, Council, on the subject of the lake level, just a note that the Okanagan Lake level is still rising, but very slowly, as was predicted. We've only had 5 millimeters over the last 24 hours. The outflow has been increased. There is the chance that if we did get a large rainstorm, there is some unsettled weather in the forecast, but that could still affect it. But we're anticipating them maxing very soon, and to max at between 342.7 and 342.8. Today we were at 342.66. So if all goes towards expectations, we've just about maxed on the lake, which is very good news. Residents, if you're talking to anybody, they need to be reminded to be prepared for wave action in the case of the storm. I think that's where damage can really occur, and certainly what got us last year. As far as the creeks go, as Mary Waterman said, there's been quite a bit happening, but they have also stabilized and are actually decreasing quite dramatically. Over the weekend, our crews rediverted Aeneas Creek back into its channel and opened Garnet Avenue back up. We've still been dealing with some weakened trees and some issues from the erosion on the creek, but things are looking much better at this point in time. I just want to touch on the fact that we did have some comments today about some sand and the gravel that's on the roads, and I did talk to staff about it, but I was reminded that over the last month and a half now, we've been under a state of local emergency. Basically, it has not been business as usual, and not only in the immediate areas of the flooding, but in other areas, we are definitely behind, and the crews are doing everything that they can do to get back on track. Two other notes, the Fortis BC has informed District of Summerland that they need to do work in a substation, and they're suggesting a date of June the 17th, which is coming up soon. And it would involve a power outage for the entire district, but they're looking now at doing it between midnight and 6 a.m., the same as we did our last one that we did. Originally, they were looking at during regular business hours, and that's what the delay's been, is working with them to say that just wouldn't fly with council. The problem, we've been talking to businesses and a number of people. I asked the electrical utility staff to make sure they had some consultation. We do have one business that, most businesses say that that's actually a good time. June 17th happens to be Father's Day, the 6 a.m., and there's one business that does most of their preparations during the nighttime in readiness to be open, and that's like a bakery. So we have to talk a little bit more about that, and so over the next couple of days we'll get the word out on what date that's going to be, if it has to be on the 17th or not.
May I just ask one question? Is it overnight on Saturday or overnight on Sunday?
This one, from what I understand, and Chris isn't here tonight, what I understand, it's overnight on Saturday night, so
So that
leading
would affect
into Father's Day in the morning.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then lastly, council, we have been successful in obtaining a contract with an HR manager. We're not going to publicize who it is. Now it is somebody from this region, so I want, she's just informed her own workplace, and the staff will be notified tomorrow, so then we'll make it public. So we'll be having a new HR manager starting on June the 26th. And with that, that's my report for today.
Thank you very much. Okay, I gather we have nothing in 9.1 unfinished business?
Correct.
Okay. Moving forward to correspondence. Council, anybody want to bring? Yes, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring forward the letter from the Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association regarding the Biosphere logo that we can use, recognizing that we're part of that region, a sustainable destination. I'm just wondering if, as we contract our tourism promotion out to the chamber, if the chamber is aware of this, and if we could forward to them, and I don't know if they'd be able to use the logo on our behalf, but to be able to put it on the Visit Summerland site and whatnot, but if we could forward that to them, that'd be appreciated.
They probably would have already received something.
They're very active members, I believe, in the Tourist Association, but we will definitely double check.
Anybody else? Councillor Booth.
I just wanted to bring forward a couple of pieces of correspondence. One, or actually two of them are related to the moratorium resolution that we're going to be discussing tonight. Very, very similar wording. The other thing I wanted to bring forward was that the District of Summerland, I shouldn't say the District of Summerland, the District of Summerland has been notified that there are 7 recipients of the $500 CFSO Community Foundation Central Okanagan, also South Okanagan $500 block party grant recipients. I think it's commendable that there are residents willing to take on the initiative of getting their act together to write a grant and apply for these funds. 7 different neighborhood community events going on throughout Summerland and Trout Creek. So kudos to all of those people.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, could I have a motion to receive the correspondence? Councillor Barkle, seconder. Councillor Peak, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 10.2, committee minutes from the CCAC and the Heritage Committee. And so, any comment on any of that, or we just received?
May I make a comment?
Go ahead.
Just recently, I've had some conversations with staff. I think that due to some extenuating circumstances with change of staff, some of the committees have been passing recommendations at their meetings, and then we approve their minutes here, but we don't bring them out as separate staff reports to come forward for council for you to consider them, and we need to do that. That's the process. You approve their minutes, but when they make suggestions and recommendations in there, they need to come out in a staff report and say, these are the recommendations made by this committee, here's some background, do you want to move forward? And it's just been overlooked for the last little while, but we will get it back on track.
Okay, so where does that leave us in terms of?
Oh, no, you would still receive them, but in case you're wondering why there's some recommendations, I don't even know if in these ones.
I don't see any in these ones.
But over the last little while, there has been some, and I didn't want you to think they've just fallen away.
Okay.
So you should still just
Okay.
receive them.
Could we have a motion, please? Councillor Carlson, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Development Services, 11.1. Mr. Condor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a development variance permit to vary 2 sections of the district's zoning bylaw to allow for a dwelling for farm help to be located outside of the farm home plate and to increase the maximum floor area of the dwelling from 110 square meters to 120 square meters for a property located at 11316 Sanborn Street. There is an existing single detached house on the property and several accessory structures on the property. The property is planted with some grapevines and apples. The property owners have applied to construct a dwelling for farm help on the property that is outside of the farm home plate and is slightly larger than permitted by the district's zoning bylaw. As noted in the letter from the applicant, the main purpose of the variances is to site the building in an area with the least impact on the agricultural plans for the property and to locate the structure in close proximity to the existing road. The proposed increase in size is relatively minor. If the variance was approved, it would result in a building that is 10 square meters, approximately 100 square feet in size, larger than what's permitted. And a letter from an agrologist has been submitted confirming that, quote, "a farm of this size would require 1 full-time farmhand and housing for that worker." Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would the proponent like to speak?
Good evening, thank you for your time. My name is Nolan Grant. I live at the proposed property there, 11316 Sanborn. Alex, if we could go back to the satellite image, would be great, and I'll just take 1 minute of your time and just explain why we asked for the variance. So if we look at the property, my wife and I just purchased it last September, so we have full intention on turning it back into a full operating orchard that's fully 100% planted. So on the proposed site, on the side here, this is actually quite a slope with a flat spot here, and my existing orchard that exists here, and then we've got gardens and barns, and I've added poultry in here, and this is goats, and then the back portion will all be future apples or grapes, or not grapes, probably maybe cherries or apples or something like that, but in my eyes, as a future farm site and functioning orchard, that site seemed like the most logical place, out of the way, no impact to agricultural land. As well as the property is already irrigated to about 95%, excluding that spot where I wish to build the new house. So, and I just want to take a minute of your time, so you understand why we put the application in and what our ideas were. Thank you for your time.
Okay, it's an opportunity for the public to speak. Anybody from the public like to make a comment?
Hi there, Patrick Murphy, 901 May Street, Summerland. It's encouraging to see a family willing to try to farm here in town, and it's imperative that we work to support families that do try to do that whenever possible. I own the land right next door, 11700 Sanborn, and I recognize staff supports this variance. It looks like the dwelling will be situated close to the approved access for Hunter's Hill. So I was looking for information at the district on it. In January 1993, there was a lot line adjustment for this property and my property, and that was approved by the Agricultural Land Commission, January 1993, and that was to ensure adequate access for the Hunter's Hill development on non-ALR land. Then a few years ago, council decided to require me to pay in full for a complete upgrade of Sanborn Street if we ever do develop Hunter's Hill. In that time, we've gone ahead and paid for the complete design, including on-site drainage systems for our housing project. We've received all approval from the Agricultural Land Commission, and the detailed design of Sanborn upgrade has been approved and sealed by Summerland Public Works. So with the noted staff support of our good neighbors here needing a variance permit, I understand the dwelling will have zero impact or cost on my already approved designs. And with that assurance, I'm more than happy to fully support this family's application. It's wonderful to see neighbors working hard on improvements to the farmland, and we fully support this variance for our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, council, any questions of the planner? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, like a question either of the planner or to the property owner or both. I see that the recommendation is to approve the increased size because it's only 10 square meters and that's not much, but you could flip that question around if it's, well, it's only 10 square meters more, why does it need to be more? Why can't they live within the 110 square meters? Why do you need a variance for a little bit more like that?
Question. Planner, have you got any response?
Was that more of a comment than a question?
Well, you know,
It's a question.
It's a question. It seems, I was just wondering if...
Why was the additional area required when it's a small area like that in terms of the functioning of the whole house? Because if perhaps the proponent might like to address that. Do you already know?
I think I'll let the applicant speak to why he wants the extra 10 square meters.
Okay.
So the application for the extra square footage variance is actually, I think the minimum was to ask for 100 feet, but the building itself is an SRI modular home built in a factory, and it measures out at, I think, like 7 feet more than what the bylaw was. So we had to put in the application for the bigger variance, but the size of the building is, Tom, do you know?
10.36.
1,010.
110 square feet, 110.36 square meters.
110.36 square meters, and I think the bylaw is 110.
Okay, it's a modular.
It's a modular, just the way that it's built, so it might be one post wider. It's not actually 100 square feet, but I think that was just the minimum application amount.
Good, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Councillor Barkle.
You know, when people come to council for variances, and council likes to see that there's a reason, and that was a good reason for the variance on the size, not just because I want it, you know, there's something behind it. But I do have to question the reason for the location. I took a drive out there, I see that construction's already started, all the steel's down. The applicant must feel pretty confident that he'll receive this variance for that location, because the pad's there and it looks like it's being framed up or pouring the concrete and everything, and the ground prepared. And it looks like that boundary adjustment was made to include in that property the farmable land and exclude the farmable land. And I looked at that area, and it's not steep, it's entirely usable. I was mowing ground, you know, steeper than that this weekend. So in my view, there doesn't seem to be any good reason to relocate the building away from our normal requirements. There's a couple of sheds and things down by the house. That would be where it would go. I would like to see a compelling reason for the variance on that location.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Carlson.
Mr. Planner, could you tell us what the square footage of the existing home is, please? I can't read it on here.
Certainly. It's about 1,050 square feet is what they've identified.
The existing house is smaller than the proposed worker accommodation?
That's correct.
And is there a basement in the existing house, do we know?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Councillor Traynor.
Does there need to be a road access to that new building for vehicles?
There needs to be a driveway, and what we've talked to the applicant about is if Sanborn Street is rebuilt as part of the Hunter's Hill development, they will have to access off of the existing driveway. I'll go back to the satellite photo here. And access through the existing driveway and kind of stay close to the property line and get to the building. Because part of what's proposed for Sanborn Street involves retaining walls for a large portion of the frontage of that property.
Can you just clarify where exactly the existing driveway is?
Sure, I think, let me get my laser pointer out here.
And you're saying that the new
That's
building
right
would
here.
have to use the same,
That's correct. So there would be an access point here, and then what we've talked about with the applicant is that they would stay fairly tight to this property line and arrive at the structure. And that they would need that space anyways for tractor aisles and so on, so.
okay, thanks.
Councillor Holmes?
I would like somebody, either the planner or the applicant, to attempt to answer Councillor Barkle's question of why it can't be at the home plate, why it has to be there.
So obviously, I'm going to say that it can't not be there because everything's possible, right? But if we look at the way the house has been set up and structured over years, the house was constructed in 1950-something. So there's been a shop that's added beside it, and then, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this tree here, but this might possibly be the biggest, oldest tree, maybe in the Okanagan. The arborist said it was about 300-year-old fir tree. It is literally 10 people around to hold on to this thing. So building anything around that, I would say, is out of the question. That's like a piece of history. And then we've kind of set up our livestock closer to the house. I don't know if you guys know about the coyote situation in this neck of the woods. It's quite severe. So we've got poultry here consisting of laying hens, meat birds, turkeys, and goats relatively close to the house where they can be guarded by the dog and the family and keep an eye out. The main irrigation for the ALR starts here and it goes across the entire property. And I'm not making it up to sound good, but it literally stops there. So if we were to start constructing and digging, we're going to ruin irrigation that's already working, functioning, watering. This, in my and you're right, it's not steep, it's not unworkable land. I had a picture from before, from about 2010, when the entire property was an orchard, and they had trees on every square inch of this property, except for this area. And they, for some reason, stopped the irrigation there, and they found it not to be a very desirable spot. I mean, it's good key land, but for me, this area here is used for staging of logs to produce firewood. So either the secondary dwelling could enter from my driveway and proceed this way, which is already a tractor lane, or just proceed through this area that's already a parking lot per se, and just access here, and then you're right there, right?
Thanks, Nolan. And just to be really clear, that staff are supporting this variance because we've had these discussions with the property owner, and it seems like the most efficient use of the property in not so many words. And the size variance is purely just considered to be a minor variances from staff's point of view.
Okay, Councillor Carlson.
Unless anyone has any further questions, I'd like to put a motion on the table.
Go ahead.
The development variance permit application for 11316 Sanborn Street to vary the zoning bylaw to allow for a dwelling for farm help to be located outside of the farm plate and to increase the maximum gross floor area of the dwelling for farm help from 110 to 120 square meters be approved. And I would like a seconder, please. And I'd like to speak to the motion.
Yep.
So, as I was looking at this earlier, over the weekend, I couldn't see why it was necessary, and I wasn't quite, I wasn't going to support such a thing. I believe it's important that when we allow farm worker housing, we have farm workers living in that housing, and we have bona fide farmers working on that land, and we don't just let anybody live in that space and lease that space. And I believe it's a problem in the district, and I believe it's a problem in the province, where people are renting out spaces like this, and they're renting out these homes. However, based on the rules, having this dwelling is permitted, and if it was possible to be within the farm plate, this wouldn't even come to council, or if there was a possibility of putting it right beside the home or close to, this wouldn't even be coming to council, and it would just get a stamp of approval. And so I think it's for that reason that and the justification that we've just heard, that I would have to support allowing this to happen, but I think that we need, as council, to have a conversation about enforcement of who lives in farm worker housing, because I know for a fact that the majority of them on sites, especially sites that are leased, that the property owner does not farm, but someone else farms that land, and there's already accommodation, there are not farm workers living in those houses. And so this one, as far as I can tell, could be like that. But according to the rules that are currently in place, it is allowed. And so I believe that we should allow this to happen, and we should talk about how to enforce the rules that we believe in.
Anybody else? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I second it. Just, I'm satisfied with the responses the applicant gave to our question. I thought it was a good discussion, and I'm happy to have the discussion someday that Councillor Carlson speaks of. I think there's there's two sides to it, of course, and but we don't have to deal with that now. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I having come from working a number of acres for 16 or 17 years, realize exactly what Councillor Carlson is discussing. And until the proponent or the applicant explain the activity around the home plate in terms of the animals and the multi-approach to his operation, I was not prepared to vote for this to take place outside the farm plate. But seeing as the explanation of how you want to operate, and I think it's quite valid. You know, I've lost a neighborhood of 17 cats, for example, to coyotes on the farm. And so it is a rational reason for keeping the stock close to where they can be monitored. So, but other than for that reason, I would not have voted for, you know, taking it away from the farm plate. So anyway, I guess we're ready to move ahead. All in favor?
No, there still might be some questions.
Oh, well, are there any questions?
Two people.
Well, I did ask. Councillor Peak.
Yes, I don't quite understand. I really endorse the farm plate concept and the understanding that the home should be able to be, or the resident farm labor should be closer to the home. I'm wondering whether the staging area where the logging takes place is an opportunity for that home to be placed at, and whether there is a difficulty with that, and perhaps the homeowner could speak to that particular, because I'm not sure whether the planner might.
There's a motion on the table that you would need a motion.
Yeah.
You just want me to speak to the motion?
Yeah.
I'll refrain.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions, since I did not ask before? Sorry about that. We'd had so much discussion. Councillor Booth.
I just have a question about the agrologist letter, I guess directed to Mr. Condor. Do you receive that, or is that something that's sent on as their, to the Agricultural Land Commission? I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, thank you very much. That agrologist report is received by staff only.
Okay.
It's not referred to the ALC whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barkwell.
I guess I'll throw in my comments before voting, and I think that the speaker was quite convincing. Not that 100%. I wish our chickens were a little further from the house, but if that's his desire. And you know, then I guess I was concerned at first about the access road taking up more land and an unnecessary length, but it will actually be, as Mr. Condor said, you know, a tractor path anyway, so I don't see a big loss there. So I'll be voting in support.
Okay. Anybody else?
May I just, in
Of course.
In consideration of the motion that's on the table, I have to appreciate the discussion. I think the homeowner, in developing his land, has certainly given good consideration to the opportunities on the land and any of the limitations that might be created by this dwelling being at the far end of the property.
Thank you. Okay, we have a mover and seconder. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 12.1, CAO.
You have the RCMP quarterly report just in your package for information. I don't think there's too much discussion unless you have anything particular.
Council, anything to raise from the quarterly report? Okay, could I have a motion to receive, please? Councillor Peak?
I will bring that motion forward for receipt.
Okay, seconder? Councillor Booth, thank you very much. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 12.2, 218 grant and aid requests. Who's handling that?
So, Council, you'll see that there's three grant and aid requests that have come recently. As you know, we generally save some extra funds for grant and aid requests that come that are out of the ordinary or that couldn't have come in the regular application. So we've given you the information, and if you have any questions, David, our Director of Finance, can speak to any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions of our CFO? Councillor Carlson.
I just want to clarify, do all three of these fit within the grant and aid policy, and is that why they've come forward?
So to answer your question, 2 of the 3 fit within the district's policy. The first one, which is the Summerland Baptist Church, the Hope Road Community Choir, in light of the district's policy, the request does not meet the guidelines for in-kind grant in aid, as the event is for the purpose of raising funds. Now, however, council has given consideration to these types of requests in the past and has also provided grant and aid funding. So, although it doesn't meet the specifications of the policy, they have been looked favorably upon in the past.
So I think the discussion that had happened in the past is that quite some time ago, the policy was amended before, I think probably before this term of this council, to add that piece in about the fundraising, but it could be argued that in a number of things that we give grant and aid to for nonprofit society ultimately are for fundraising initiatives, and I think that when they put that in, saying it can't be specifically for fundraising, it needed some more framework around, and we haven't, and council did ask that we look at that policy and look to upgrade it a little bit, and it just hasn't been done yet.
Councillor Holmes.
Just in respect to number 3, the Ride Don't High, I thought it was in our policy that we didn't provide grant and aids to regional initiatives, that only local ones. Am I mistaken there?
Do you have,
Sure.
are you referring to the policy, David?
I'm just pulling it up right now. Sorry, I don't have it at my fingertips.
I believe you,
Okay.
did you review the policy? Do you know, Nicole?
Thank you. Yes, I looked at the policy in relation to this, and it didn't say regional, not to regional. It just said that that it had to have a local component, which it does. Or that's how I interpreted it.
I think I was looking at that from that standpoint, given that other municipalities have contributed within the region, that this is more of a Summerland initiative to assist this than as part of the whole region. So that would help me out there. Councillor Carlson, did you have who was here? Somebody? We'll go over here. Councillor Boot and Councillor Traynor.
I also have a question about whether or not we meet the criteria, or whether or not the applicants meet the criteria. And is it within our guidelines to extend funds to a religious organization? Or is that something that falls outside of the guidelines?
Religious organizations do receive permissive tax exemptions if council so wishes. It does not preclude them from applying for a grant and aid.
Grant and aid, okay, thank you.
So staff, do we have a copy of the policy? Does anyone have it right here?
Yes.
Right. So what does it say on both of those questions?
So one of the requirements is that they be a not-for-profit organization or charity. It doesn't mention explicitly anything regarding a faith organization. Regarding financial assistance for regional issues, it says financial assistance will not be considered for events, projects, or programs of a regional nature. That's all it says. So it could be a question as to if it's a regional program that has local components in each local area, does that still count as regional, or is that just multiple local locations? Hard to tell from the application.
Up for interpretation. Councillor Trainer.
My comment is on number 3, Ride Don't Hide. I believe that event is held in Penticton, and to me it's a regional event, so I'm not sure if it would qualify. The other question I had is, it says in the description here that it is for a regional fundraising bike ride, so that would be considered a fundraising event then as well, similar to the first event we had on the list. And finally, that event happens every year, so I was wondering, could they have put in their application at the deadline?
And I think that's exactly what we have said in the past, that if it's not a new event that, or something that's typically the reason you keep those funds is for if it's a new organization or something completely unexpected comes up, but that you stick with your time.
So
Or
this
else,
one has been
if you
going on
do
for a
start to give too many to ongoing events outside of it, you almost encourage them not to put it at the time of deadline, but to separate so that, especially if you usually approve them.
So yeah, that's my point then about, I fully support the event, it's a great event, but I think that given that it's been going on for a couple of years, they could have met the deadline like all the other organizations that we give money to.
Okay, Councillor Barcole, Peak, and Carlson.
I would like to put a resolution on the table for each of these separately, and we'll have a separate vote for each of these 3, and then talk about each one in order. So I'll put forward the motion that we, this one is, the first one is to waive the fee for the Center Stage Theatre for the Hope Road Community Choir.
Seconder? Councillor Peak? Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes?
No, I think there's a reason for that policy of not providing those grant and aids for these fundraisers. Council, one of the recipients of the funds is the Summerland Food Bank. Council already gives us a sizable amount of money to the food bank, and we had lots of discussions early on how much money we felt in our budget that we could give to the food bank, how much the food bank ought to receive in our, from the taxpayers. And this is kind of a way of providing more money for the food. Somebody else saying, well, no, we should be, the municipality should be granting more money than we've already granted to the food bank. And that could be, it's not because just the food bank, it could be any organization. So it's not us deciding that funding, we've already decided how much we're going to fund the food bank. And so this is kind of a way of getting some extra.
Okay, I see your point. I guess where I would comment in that is that it's a small amount in kind that would tend to lever a lot more funds for the food bank. And I would be hesitate to say that that they don't need more funding. And so a small additional in-kind thing like this may lever a much larger amount of money in a fundraiser like their community choir event. Anyway, who else did we have? Councillor Boot?
I have a question. I can't see on the Hope Road Community Choir where the fundraising aspect comes in. It's a free concert. I don't see any mention of a fundraiser. Am I just missing it? I can't see it. A free concert to me doesn't imply a fundraiser.
Just looking at where it says free.
It says it a couple of times. Let's see if I can find it again here.
And just a note while you're looking for that, the reason that we brought that comment up is because we did have a request not too long ago from a drumming group that was holding a dance specifically for fundraising, and we had recommended that it wasn't against the policy, and that's where the comments came that everything could be considered a fundraiser. So that's why we brought this one forward in that regard this time.
Okay.
I don't,
Where it shows on the first page, it says event, Hope Road Community Choir dash free concert. That's one of the spots. And Councillor Holmes, if you could point out where it says that it's a fundraiser for the food bank, because I'm missing that too.
That's just in the staff report.
Oh, okay. So that's not in the application itself.
yeah, it says in their grant and aid application, says free concert.
It says free concert, yeah.
In the grant and aid application, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, where was he with speakers? Councillor Peak, then Councillor Carlson?
Yes, it's mentioned, and I believe that we did go outside the parameters as a fundraiser on a similar request, and I think that's probably why staff have brought it forward, although it goes against the actual policy. I do feel that an in-kind of $391 could be considered because of the fact that in the past, we have had a great deal of discussion around the food bank resource, and they did receive more funding from us in the past, but we've had a lot of requests, and we actually reduced their funding over the last 2 years. So I would actually consider this particular request.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barkville?
I wonder if we would be making a distinction between a fundraiser for a group that's raising funds for its own activities and a fundraiser for a group that's raising money for some other worthwhile purpose in the community, which the application that the CEO recently, or mentioned they recently had. See, I think I would make a distinction there. On this one, we're not really clear, I guess.
Okay. Councillor Barkville, we had you. Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I mean, reading through the application, I'm confused as everybody now. Is this a fundraiser or not? It says donations will be accepted. So does that mean it's a fundraiser, or you just drop some food off at the front door? I mean, I'm a bit confused. So I don't know if it fits the policy or not.
Did you have a comment, either staff? Who is reviewing
I guess the comment I have in reviewing the application, there are events such as this where the event is free to the public, but of course there's always the hope of receiving either cash donations or food donations that would then go to the food bank. So although the event itself is being advertised as free, there is a hope that there is some funds and some foods that are received that then can go towards the food bank. And just so council is aware, we also did receive an application from this organization last year for the same event, which was not supported.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Councillor Holmes?
You wonder why they just don't charge admission and then they cover their costs that way.
Well, okay, now we had a motion from Councillor Barkville. Do we have a seconder? Okay. Because I think we are splitting hairs here on this, and because I think it's...
Call a question?
Pardon me?
Could we call a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
But I do have a question. Does it fit our policy or doesn't? That's all I want to know.
No, not the current policy.
No.
I have to say for staff, it's a tough question to answer, because last time when we brought forward that application for the drumming one, and we said it did not meet the policy because it was for fundraising, council very clearly told us that almost any of those could be considered, and what you didn't decide to give it because you override the policy. We were told that it didn't, that any of them could be fundraising in one way or another when it's for nonprofit organizations. So that's where we're struggling now. Staff apparently interpreted this one as fundraising, but it is interpretation. It's council's interpretation of the policy. I don't think it's a very good policy. Council, I think, should be more focused on your policy of what your grants in AIDS are for outside of the application period. And again, this event was declined last year. They likely knew that it was going to come up again this year. So the policy probably is more important on sticking tighter with only in highly exceptional cases would you give funding outside of the actual application process, or it's not fair to all the other organizations that don't put them in.
Or they do put them in the application period. Okay, questions being called. Do you have another?
I have another question.
Okay, well,
You-
No one can call
you
the
have-
question.
okay, well.
Yeah, you have to call the question. Given what our CAO just said about being fair, it's similar to what we have to be very careful about when we're looking at permissive tax exemptions. However we apply the rules outside of the statutory ones, we have to be fair and clear. And I think that as much as I'd like to support this, I can't in order to be fair. And another point, the Hope Road Community Choir, I know that they have, I belong to the Summerland United Church, and as Councillor Peak does, and I know that they have done a presentation, had the community choir at our church and a number of other churches in the area. So, although I think it's great to be raising extra funds for food for the food bank, I think that we need to stand by our policy as we have in the past. I guess it's not really a question, but it's a comment.
I think taking the CAO's comments about, how hard and fast we want to set the policy or fall in line with the policy is up to council. And we've all obviously had deviations here and there. And looking at something as, I have recognized that other churches have concerts and so on, but this is being specific in terms of supporting a community need. And I, for one, would be wanting to deviate from the strictness of the policy and vote for this. I think our policy needs review because this is obviously a needed situation for the food bank and for NeighborLink. They're both excellent organizations. Councillor Traynor?
Well, I think another thing to consider is that we only have $2,400 left.
Yeah.
And we still
Exactly.
have 7 months of the year.
Well,
7,
no,
6?
5.
Whatever
5
it
or
is.
6.
Anyway,
7.
what I'm saying is that there could be other legitimate last-minute things that come up that we want to give money to. And both number 1 and number 3, I'm not quite sure about number 2 because we haven't discussed it yet, but both of those, in my opinion, could have got their applications in. They're both great events, but they could have put their applications in on time. And considering we only have 2,400 left, I think that that's something to consider.
Yeah, we're going to have to change the request amounts anyway for the other ones. Okay, any further comments? Let me say what I want. Okay, all in favor of the motion, which was to
support them, that was the motion.
support, that was the motion.
Support Hope Road Community Choir.
Yeah, okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated, thank you. Okay, number 2. 55-plus gold medal winners team.
Since we're going motion by motion.
Yes, we are.
I'd like to put a motion on the table to support the gold medal winners team with a grant of $500 to assist their travel costs to and from the Canada 55-plus games.
Seconder? Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Motion's carried. None opposed, thank you. Okay, number 3. Ride, don't hide. Counselor Barclay.
I move that the council support Ride Don't Hide with a $2,000 donation.
Okay, seconder?
No, I'll second it, just so we get it on the table for discussion.
Okay, yeah. Okay, any discussion around this particular motion? Counselor
I
Carlson?
just want to reiterate what Councillor Traynor said in the other motion, where perhaps next year, if Ride Don't Hide is looking for funding, they should be coming forward during the actual grant and aid timing. And we should also be looking at what their component is in Summerland, if it's just part of the route, or if there's actually something that does happen here, because I'm still unclear on that.
Counselor Holmes?
Yes, I agree. I think the message back to them ought to be that please get the application in on time, and also to specify what the local component is, because I certainly don't see it in the application right now.
Is there a chance for any member of the public to speak at this point? Not really.
If you pass the motion unanimous to speak, for them to speak.
Okay. If there's a desire to hear from a member of the public on this, we have to have a motion to do so.
I'm okay with
Pardon
making
me?
that, I'm okay with making that motion.
Okay, seconder, please.
I don't know if...
Thank you. All in favor? Carried? Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Leah Schulting, the Executive Director at Canadian Mental Health Association. So this ride's been going on for 5 years, and it's all about coming out if you have a mental illness and riding and not hiding. So last year we lost a board member to suicide. Jackie's on our board, so it was just devastating. And his message, it was Jeremy McGoran, the radio host. His message was, if you're in trouble and you need help, talk about it. Don't hide. Come to the forefront. So we're encouraging people to take part. It's a fun event. It's not a race. And we have 150 riders. And the money that we raise, we're putting back into the community. So, for example, we've got a person now trained in Assist and Safe Talk. They're suicide prevention programs, and they're nationally recognized. We're now working with the Summerland pool and the lifeguards to run some training for them. We've got some middle school curriculum around suicide and also anxiety and depression. So we're in Summerland. We're also talking with we're going to be talking with the Summerland STEAM because these kids are away from home and there's a lot going on in their lives and there's under a tremendous amount of pressure. So mental health is a concern for the junior hockey kids as well. So we are working in Summerland. Summerland Auxiliary has been wonderful and supported us for our programs. So that's basically what we're doing, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion on the table to grant a full 2,000. CFO, do you have a comment?
I guess my only comment, Mr. Mayor, is with the allocation of $500 from the 2390, the available funding left from a budget perspective is $1,890.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Boot.
I know that I seconded the motion. Am I able to amend it to the amount of $1,000? It was great to hear from Ms. Schilling, is it, about how the work that they are doing specifically in our community. So that satisfies me that it's not just a Penticton-centric event. So I would like to support them. I understand perhaps maybe the 2,000 we can't do, but that 1,000?
2,000 wasn't an option in the end. We didn't have that much money.
So first of all, I mean, you could, the 2,000, council can put whatever amount they want out, and you just wouldn't have enough in your, you'd have to move it from another account. But you could also propose an amendment. In order to change the amount, you would then propose an amendment to the amount.
Okay.
May I propose an amendment to the $1,000 then, please?
Okay.
You would need it to get a seconder.
Yes.
For that, yeah.
Yeah.
Counselor
And
Peak?
Counselor Peak is seconding Dean, thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion, we're moving ahead on that one. All in favor?
Or
Of the-
discussion of the
Or discussion of the
amendment.
change to the 1,000. Counselor Holmes?
Well, regardless of the amount, I wasn't really questioning the Mental Health Association involvement in the community. I was questioning what's the specific local component of this event that we're being asked to provide a grant to, and I didn't hear that, what the local component was of this event. So I still question that, and I still question of why the application couldn't have gone in at the deadline. So.
Yeah, good point. Okay. Any further comments or discussion on the amendment? Okay. We've had a mover and seconder of the amendment. All in favor? Okay, that's defeated. It's 4-3.
No, there's never been passed.
Passes, doesn't it?
He voted in favor.
Oh, okay, you did raise your hand.
No, you did.
Do it again.
Okay,
Why don't you call the vote again?
yep. Okay.
On the amendment.
Let's call a vote on the amendment to change things to $1,000, correct? Okay, in favor of moving it to $1,000. Okay, motion passes 4-3. Okay, now back to the original motion
Toward grant.
toward the grant in total.
Toward grant and aid to this group.
Yeah, period.
Of
Okay. Okay, we'll move, Councillor Barkley.
I am concerned about this issue of not applying in a timely fashion, and where these funds are more for unexpected and unforeseeable applications. But in this case, I think I am willing to set my concerns aside, and would probably feel different if I was sitting in this chair next year for a third time, but this one time.
Councillor Peak?
Yeah, I certainly hope that this group would apply before the January deadline for next year, as Councillor Barkle has spoken to, and we would encourage all groups that want to get funds to do it in a timely manner. I will consider this and vote in favor as a result of some of the things that have occurred in our community in the recent past, and I think that education and help for mental difficulties within our communities at large, and Summerland in particular, is important.
Councillor Carlson?
I'd like to echo what Councillor Peak just said, especially with regard to recent suicides in our community. I also want to note that there's a poster as part of the package for the ride that's on June 24th, and it says, "Let's ride together," and then in the banner, it says Summerland/Penticton. It doesn't even say Penticton/Summerland. So even though it starts in Penticton and it does take place in Penticton, Summerland is very much front and center on their publication, and so I believe that given that, we should support this and anticipate that next year this will come in a more timely manner.
I think I'd just like to add that the title of this, Ride Don't Hide, is a critical aspect of this thing. I'm well aware that there's a significant number of people that have difficulty, and they should be encouraged to bring their concerns to someone who might be able to talk to them, to assist them, so I would vote in favor of this motion. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving ahead to finish the third one. Motion to 12.3, Summerland Slow Pitch League request for beverage garden.
We'll have Ms. Mullen speak to this as Recreation Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm bringing forward a request from the Summerland Slow Pitch League for approval for a beverage garden at Dale Meadows Sports Complex on June 23rd to 24th. The Summerland Slow Pitch Association traditionally holds a league wind-up tournament the last weekend of June. In previous years, in conjunction with this tournament, they have hosted a beverage garden. This hasn't happened in the last few years, and they're hoping to bring that back for 2018. They use the funds that they raise to go back either for improvements to the league or to improvements to Dale Meadows Sports Complex. They've agreed to work with Summerland or RCMP and get approval there, but at this point, they do need council's approval in order to move forward with the permits.
Thank you.
And it should be noted, in speaking with the RCMP, that there is concern on the short notice, given the short staff that the RCMP are right now. So that is why, one of the reasons that the motion does read subject to their approval, because they will need to be dealing with them to see if there is still time for them to get it organized with the extra overtime they require.
Okay, good. Okay, any questions of the rec director? Councillor Trainer.
You said that they hadn't had a beverage garden for a couple of years. Were there any, do you know of any issues from those previous years? Was there any?
I did check to find out why they hadn't. It's a change in the board of directors. So when they changed out for different volunteers that run that league, they weren't interested in doing that piece of the job. So they have a new president that's starting this year, and this is something that he feels is valuable for a fundraising effort.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Peak.
With the discussion around extra time for the RCMP overtime, does that mean that if for some reason the RCMP are not able to accommodate, that then the liquor license would not go forward?
Yeah, the RCMP has control over that piece of it, and if they didn't put a recommendation into the liquor licensing board, then likely the liquor licensing board would turn it down.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, would someone like to bring a motion for approval, please? Councillor Peak?
I will bring that motion forward.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion? No. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 12.4, beach vending at Powell Beach.
Recreation manager is also going to speak to this in that we approach this in a bit of a different way this year to try to get a little bit more excitement and interest, and I think that it really has worked. So Lori will explain that.
Yes, thank you. We did take a different approach. In the past, we've done requests for proposals out into the community and have had limited success in attracting beach vendors to Summerland. This year we did a different approach and did some advertising through local newspapers and through Castanet requesting expressions of interest. We received 3 strong proposals this year in various different disciplines, and we all feel that all 3 proposals would add vibrancy and desirable enhancements to our waterfront. And I talked to the 3 vendors, and they're willing to work along each other and work together at the 3 beaches, and that would be Powell Beach, Rotary Beach, and Peach Orchard Beach. And so I've also confirmed with them that they would meet the requirements of the district, which is to have a business license, insurance, interior health permit, and an approved fire department mobile vendor inspection, which they've all agreed that they would proceed to provide us with. And so with that, staff is requesting that council provide authorization for staff to issue license of occupation agreements for accepted food truck proposals, and that staff are authorized to negotiate a seasonal fee at fair market value for the term of June 1st to September 30th of 2018.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? Councillor Trainer.
I understand having food vendors at Rotary Beach and Peach Orchard Beach because there's quite a bit of traffic there in the summer. My question is about Powell Beach. Has there been food vendors there before? I've never seen them before, so I was just wondering, maybe before I got here there was some. And secondly, just wondering, because it's more of a residential area, if there would be enough sales for them to be set up there versus those other 2 beaches which have more people at them.
I'm not sure if there's actually been a dedicated vendor down at Powell Beach, but these vendors would have the option to move around to any beach that they wanted. So if they all wanted to go to Rotary Beach, they could be in the parking lot at that beach. If there's some weekends where there's activities happening at Powell Beach, a specific event, they could go down there. But they can rotate around to all 3 beaches.
So there could be then theoretically up to 3?
Yes.
At any of those beaches at any given time?
That's correct. It would be first come, first serve. So the first truck to arrive would get their parking spot first, but they could all be together, lined up together. Yeah.
That was one of the issues that we faced and why we recommended going through a different approach this year, is that we were so rigid in what we said they could do and what they couldn't do, and that we just were not getting any interest whatsoever, and lots of feedback from the public that they wanted those options, including the option at Powell Beach, so opening it up to that possibility.
Okay, Councillor Holmes, and Councillor Peak, and Councillor Bartley.
I'm just wondering what consideration has been given to parking, especially at Rotary Beach. If they all decide to pull up at Rotary Beach, parking is a premium there on hot summer days at the best of times. So how many parking stalls do they take, and what effect would it have on parking if they were all there?
It would have an impact on parking. It would be, I don't have the exact size of the trucks with me, but I suspect they could take up to 2 spots per vehicle. So yes, it could have an impact on parking.
And just a note on that, I actually thought that we had them allocated spots and that there wasn't going to be 3 any maximum. So if council is concerned about the possibility of 3 at one time, you could add to the resolution, for us to put a condition in that it's limited, that I was understanding that it was rotating, that first comes, first serve, and that it was between the 3 parks that we were having 3. So that was a misunderstanding from us as well. So we may need to write something in that we wouldn't necessarily want 3 at one location.
We could do that if that was council's wish. Right now, it's just open for negotiations, so we can work with the various vendors on how you see fit. There has been some talk in other communities, when you bring 3 trucks together, you create a bit of a hub and excitement, and it's good competition, so they don't mind doing that, but if it is an impact for parking and we wish to limit that, we can do that.
We could try it for a year, I guess, and see what happens.
Yeah. Councillor Peak.
Yeah, in reference to parking at the Rotary Beach in particular, I made note that the last truck that I remember being there on a regular basis was close to the public washrooms, which put them right against the road. I'm wondering about the possibility of tucking them in where the pocket is for parking. Just beyond the washrooms, there's an area where you pull in and it's actually off the road. Whether that would be consideration for a better logistics on the trucks being available. Anyway, I put that out there. I'm in agreement for trying this and seeing how it works, because I believe the vitality does work in favor of our community.
Councillor Barkle.
Yeah, I share Councillor Holmes' concern, or at least he started with the concern, that 3 trucks at Rotary Beach anyway would be far too much space, and I would like to see staff work something out that maximum of 2 trucks at Rotary Beach at any one time. I know people they want to have the food available, but they also want to be able to arrive and park. So.
And it could be, if once we do the mapping out of the spots, because we haven't done that yet, we could limit in one. We could, for example, say 3, that up to 3 could be in this location, only 2 maximum in Rotary Beach, or it doesn't have to be consistent on, we have that room because we haven't negotiated with them yet.
Okay, Councillor Peak. Okay, follow up, go ahead then, Councillor Peak.
I'm quite happy to just leave it in the hands of staff to keep their options open on their negotiations, and if there appears to be a problem, then change the rules. If there doesn't appear to be a problem, then,
Yeah, I'd prefer that, considering that I think Councillor Holmes suggested, let's see how it works for a year. Councillor Peak?
Yes, I'm wondering, is there consideration for electrical hookup for these trucks, or will they be autonomous?
They're all self-sufficient, so they do not require electrical.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Someone like to bring a motion forward, please, as presented, perhaps? Councillor Peak?
I'll bring that motion forward for consideration.
Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Traynor, thank you. Any further discussion? I think I'll go along with what Councillor Peak said, that adding a bit of vibrancy and competition, and I think as Rec Director stated, a bit of a hub of activity, because I assume they're not all going to be selling the same burger and fries. Okay, yeah. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 12.5. CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the district is required to prepare a statement of financial information by June 30th each year. The statement is attached to the report, and if there are any questions in regards to the details, I would gladly answer them.
CEO, did you have any comments, Tom?
That's all I was going to say.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Holmes.
I just have one question about one of the line items in the goods and services, $25,000 for South Okanagan Limousines Company. Is that for the mayor's transportation, or what would that be for?
I want in.
Very funny. No, actually, they didn't even kick in from my motorcycle, and I noticed, never mind.
No, that is not for the mayor's personal limousine service. I can look up in our financial software exactly what that is, but that is not what it's for.
Okay, anything else? Seeing as how I don't have a limousine service. Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Okay, would someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Peak, thank you.
I'll bring the resolution
Yeah,
forward as
seconder,
read.
please. Seconder? Councillor Booth, thank you. Okay, any further questions, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 12.6, skate park lease with school district number 67, CAO.
Mr. Deniger, thank you.
Mr. Denny.
Yes, so this is seeking council's direction and approval to enter into a 30-year lease with School District 67 in order to finalize the cooperative venture of having a location on the Summerland Secondary School by the roundabout. There is currently an interim 10-year lease in place between the district and the school district, and so this is intended to lengthen that so that we can have a skate park that exists for more than 10 years. It's pretty standard terms. If there's any questions about it, happy to answer.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Deniger, please? Doesn't look like there are. Councillor Peak? CAO?
Just wanted to say again, I think he probably said it, but we just need, when you're doing something like a skate park, you want the longer lease than
Yeah,
just
of
your
course.
10 years or whatever that you would generally have.
If I may, to Mr. Deniger, the 10-year lease is with the previous, what's the 10-year lease?
The current 10-year lease is between the District of Summerland and the school district, but it was intended only as an interim measure, primarily for grant funding opportunities.
I see.
Gotcha.
Anything beyond 10 years requires the Minister of Education to approve it, and because of the time crunch at the time, we just thought, let's get something, and with the understanding that we would go to the ministry. So that lease has been approved by the school board and is with the ministry for approval.
Thank you. Better clarification. Appreciate it.
Councillor Booth?
Just a question about the inclusion of the termination without cause. Without cause clause. If in fact with this 30-year lease, that sometime during that period, that sale of the school property is something that is being done, is there also a clause that offers the district the right of first refusal to purchase that portion?
Yes, that was built into that clause at our
Okay.
request, that it, for 1 year from the time that the agreement would terminate under those terms, the district would have the right to purchase that property at market value.
Okay.
And that's in addition to any penalties that the school district would have to pay for ending the lease early. So the funds gathered, say if they were halfway through the lease terms, the 50% that the district would get from the school district for canceling early could be applied towards purchasing that property.
Could be applied. Okay, thank you.
The council at the time chooses.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Deniger? Okay, someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Booth, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Peak? Any further discussion? It's just nice to see this moving forward. We're hoping to get shovels in the ground not too long down the road. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 12.7, Lakeside Trail Feasibility Study. Who's handling that, CAO?
We've attached the final copy of the Lakeside Trail Feasibility Study. Council recognizes that it was back in 2016 when the province approached council and council of Penticton and the regional district to look at the Lakeside Trail study to see what kind of costing and what they recommended. It was a study that was commissioned by the province. Therefore, we sat on a stakeholder a committee with them, but they drove the consultants, they did the terms of reference, we didn't participate in any of that portion. We've been having members of the public asking for the copy of the public, so it needed to come to receipt to council before it could be given to the public. So the purpose today is really to get it on the agenda. I think that staff's intent is to then to even have a chance to review it, and then I know that council's talked before about potentially going to UBCM as with it being an issue to talk about incorporating it into a highways project or something. But so no review has been done on it. It's really just so that it can be released to the public of asking right now, and it is on our work plans, not for it not to just fall off, to keep conversations going.
It'll be brought up for UBCM discussions.
Right.
Yeah. Councillor Holmes and Councillor Peak.
I think we need to talk with the other stakeholders, specifically the city of Penticton. I'm not convinced that they're prepared to put, really invest in it, but maybe they are. I don't know. But I think we really need to talk to them, and if they're not on board, we might be flogging a dead horse. I think we really need to work with Penticton on this, the two of us together. And if we go to UBCM, we have to go to, I really think we need to go jointly with Penticton Council to speak to the minister for both, talk about how important it is for both communities. I think going on our own isn't going to get us very far. I really think we need the other stakeholders, all of us on board speaking with the same voice. And I don't know if that's can happen or not.
May I speak?
Yes.
So into my conversations with Penticton, and I had some fairly recently, but not over the last, since we've got this report, has been exactly what it was at the beginning, is they're not interested as far as the using their funds or their grant fundings, because they want to focus on the KVR trail if there was ever monies that were going, same as the regional district. But if we were to, that's where I think further conversations with council needs to happen. If council believes, and Penticton Council believes, that this should be incorporated into the highways projects, that it's, you look any day and see how many people are riding that highway now and how dangerous that is with 4 lanes and no separation at all, and lobbying, not so much to suggest that we have the funding or that we're going to use grants that we may use for other things within our own location, but to lobby it becoming a highways project. So we can probably I'll talk to the CAO further, and then perhaps council can have some more conversations with Penticton Council.
Considering this is being up for discussion at the RDOS over a period of time, I think Penticton would, despite that would be on board, but only as a highways project, where they would, and ourselves, you know, the kind of money that might be involved, although there's potentially strong, big reductions in costs apparently, but at the same time, it's not something that we could either do on our own or do in a substantial sharing capacity without highways making it a part of their project. So, and I think, you know, there was a strong push by the previous provincial government to do this project, and recognition of how cycling linked the lakeshore areas from Naramata through Penticton and Summerland. It's all very well to be thinking the KVR property as a trail, but the access is difficult in terms of lakeshore activities, more of commercial retail stuff associated with the trail, particularly in our own lower town, that I think it would be wise to, you know, push ahead at the UVCM, but by all means work with Penticton. But from what I can gather, Penticton's interest would lie more in, as the CAO has said, with respect to the province's participation as a highways project. Councillor Peak?
I strongly think that with the change of government that we have an opportunity to reinforce the safety aspect of a highway project. And I think that that has great impetus, not just for ourselves, but for Penticton, that we should pursue that.
Yeah, I agree. Any other comments? Okay, to receive, would someone like to bring that motion forward, please? Councillor Peak? Councillor Traynor, would you have a...
I just have a quick comment to add. I also see these two projects as independent. Like, one is really a highways project and for commuter cycling. The other one is more of, in my opinion, a tourism kind of aspect. So I think that they can be pitched separately, and I think it's a really great idea to go into Penticton, go into UBCM with them as a highways project, for sure. So I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Before you go to the next item, can I just answer Councillor Holmes' question on the limousine service? It's actually, the $25,000 is for the Taxi Savers program, which has to do with the BC Transit contract. So they're the ones that provide that.
Thanks.
If I had known Councillor Holmes was interested in providing a limousine service for me, or there might even potentially be one. All I'm getting is the ability to kill myself on my motorcycle. Okay, moving ahead now to 13.1.
Can I just
go ahead.
Make a comment? I just wanted to comment on something that we talked about quite a bit at the open house that we had last week, and which is really important to have clarity here. And that is that when we're talking about the growing of cannabis on ALR lands or in any other kind of zoning, we're talking about the legalization of recreational cannabis, the growing of cannabis on ALR lands that is medicinal marijuana is allowed. It's allowed on the Charter of Rights, and there's a big distinction because the recreational cannabis is not subject to the Charter, so it's that's where the difference is going to be, and so that is why it is allowable right now, and why some of the speculation that's happening is that they have medical licenses right now, and some people are hoping to convert those over. There's no guarantee that the licenses will be transferable, but council can only talk about this kind of thing is talking about recreational cannabis, not about the medicinal cannabises and the licenses that are being granted right now.
So this is strictly referencing recreational.
Recreation and Bill C-45 that's coming down and moving forward to future.
Okay, just for clarification, is this resolution clear enough with respect to that?
It doesn't really, it's not really relevant to this because, but you could say recreational cannabis, but It's just more for council's understanding for the
But
people
that
that weren't.
does, for me, what you just said, it's a good clarification.
It's frustrating for the public because it's very confusing, the difference between medically grown cannabis and what rights have already been granted and protected under the Access to Medicinal Marijuana Regulations Act and this new C-45 that's coming down.
Councillor Peak? then Councillor
Appreciate the
Holmes.
clarification. Two things. Do we know if, in the changes that are coming about, whether there will be more controls based on medicinal production of marijuana, of cannabis, under that act? And I speak in particular to odor. And my other question is, do we know if the properties that are being commented on by our public are used for medicinal cannabis?
Supposedly, medicinal is already regulated very strongly as far as this, there's two sections of the medicinal. One, the large-scale production facilities, which are supposed to be highly vented and regulated. I think there's still issues, and that we're still looking into what the information's really vague as far as finding out what the standards should be at for those. The idea of those large-scale medicinal ones is that it's supposed to be highly vented, and the anticipation is that that's something that the federal government is still working on. The other side of medicinal, which is where a lot of the problems are the licenses that have been granted to individuals based on prescriptions that can be 100 plants or more per individual. And at this point in time, they're not regulated on how many of those can be amalgamated together. Often they're in residential homes with basically no parameters and controls around them. That is being controlled by limiting the number of them that can be amalgamated. But again, it's the charter that becomes the issue a legal issue on how to control that. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions. But the intent that they say is to have highly controlled facilities, and that's why some of the thought is don't react too quickly until those answers are solid from the council can't really do too much decision-making yet until you know what those controls are going to be or not be.
Just before Councillor Holmes, in the example that was shown for the Regional District Board with a large facility that's medicinal, it happens to be going in on an industrial site, but the term highly vented is a little bit off in that what they're doing is it's well filtered. They've got filter controls in. It's not just venting the odor to the outside. They have to actually have controls of the odor. They also have to be able to vent for the plant's use, I suppose, but at the same time, they're glass house setups, and they'll have to be filtering whatever they do. Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Carlson.
This motion doesn't specify whether it's medicinal or recreational, and I don't think it should.
Okay.
I don't see, maybe medicinal marijuana has to be highly vented, but, we know for a fact we have grow-ups here that aren't. And
vented means, anyway.
Yeah, well, ventilation, whatever scrubbers or whatever. I mean, I think what the government needs to do is look at the whole picture of how are we going to grow this stuff, whether it's medicinal or cannabis. And I think they can do that without infringing on anybody's constitutional right to medicinal marijuana. I think they just need to review it. And in the context of ALR, there are lots of not every province has an ALR, and so I don't really see how there's a constitutional guarantee that marijuana can be grown on ALR land. I don't know. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but all this motion is saying is that hang on here.
Yep.
Let's review all the regulations for growing marijuana, And before we get too far down the road of legalization.
Yeah, I agree, and the motion as it stands, I think, is quite explanatory and isn't terribly specific other than advising consultation. Councillor Carlson?
I have a question regarding the timing and the ALC's response. So the letter we received from the District of Kent is dated April 25th, and I'm assuming that the Premier and the Minister and the ALC have responded or have some other form of response to this. And I'm wondering if we have any update from the ALC as to what it is and when they're going to have some further information on consultation and/or decisions on growing.
Just we'll get something perhaps from the CAO, but I know I talked to the Land Commission. I talked to the Land Commission at least a couple of months ago or more, and Mr. Miller advised that essentially they have to wait before they can do anything. They have to wait for the regulations to come down from the province and the feds, which will guide what they do. CAO, anything to add to that?
I haven't heard anything specifically in response to what this has gone forward. I would highly doubt there would be a response yet. I have been told that they're in the process of starting, gathering the information. I don't think any messaging that they hear of wait and make sure you think this out carefully is harmful by any means. So, and I need to get further information after preparing for and learning what we learned for the presentation last week. We have a better idea now of what the next steps we need to take in our learning to bring forward to council.
I think this is just a very sensible motion. No problem with it at all. Councillor Barkle.
Yeah, this was the first I'd heard that the growing medicinal marijuana on agricultural land was protected by the charter. It's my understanding that the new regulations would limit the amalgamation of licenses to 4, which would help, but if there's charter protection now, I can see a charter challenge and tied up for years before it was resolved just on the limitation issue.
So to be clear, there's 2 separate streams of medicinal. One is the license that's for cultivation and processing of medicinal marijuana, large scale. There's the licenses that are those ones that right now can be amalgamated, the ones that are kind of in that area that the police can't regulate because they have these licenses, and there is the fear. I think that's one of the reasons that they're so strongly separating the 2, because they realize that's exactly what's happened up until now with medicinal. That's why it's in the process that it's in, is this challenge after challenge. But the recreational isn't subject to that same piece, so that's why there's such a separation. And there's more to learn on the ALR side of it. I can't say that we've learned all of the details on what exactly is allowed under the charter on medicinal, only that it's different than recreational.
Was there another, Councillor Peak?
May I bring the resolution
Yes, of course.
forward?
Yeah.
Be it resolved, the district requests the Premier of British Columbia and the Minister of Agriculture place a moratorium on further use of agricultural land reserve lands to grow cannabis while it performs a minimum 6 months review and broad consultation with farmers, municipalities, industry, and the public on the use of agricultural land reserves for the growth and production of marijuana.
Seconder? Councillor Holmes? Okay, any further discussion? Pretty straightforward. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 14.1. Zoning bylaw. Mr. Condor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is regarding bylaw 2018-012, a bylaw to rezone the property at 8320 Prairie Valley Road to RSD1, residential medium lot zone. Staff are recommending that council consider the feedback received at the public hearing held tonight on May 28th regarding this proposed rezoning amendment. Should council wish to proceed with the consideration of the bylaw, the appropriate motion would be to that zoning bylaw, amendment bylaw number 2018-012 be read a third time.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Booth and Counselor Trainer.
May I bring the resolution forward,
Of course,
Mr. Mayor?
yes. Okay. Seconder, please. Counselor Barkville. Counselor Trainer, did you have a
I just
question?
had a question. The house that's on the existing house, that's going to stay there, and then they're just going to subdivide and perhaps build another one, is that correct?
That's correct. So this is a preliminary subdivision plan that's being submitted to demonstrate what they're trying to achieve. And right now, the result would be the existing single-family house would be subdivided on one lot.
Yeah.
And there would be a vacant lot to build another single-family house.
Okay, because there was a woman that got up and spoke, and I believe she was the neighbor to the left. Is that right? Yeah. Because she was talking about a retaining wall or something affecting her property. But then I thought if the existing house is staying there, then nothing would really affect her property. Is that correct?
So what I would like to say about that is that there are some tools that are available to staff at the subdivision stage to ensure that a property that's above a slope or at the toe of a slope isn't impacted by future development. A standard condition or a typical condition of a subdivision would be that geotechnical report is submitted by a qualified soil engineer to confirm that there's no slope stability hazards on the site. And then further down the process at the building permit stage, it's very common to have a geotechnical report submitted to speak to the specific foundation design of the building, again, to ensure safety and slope stability.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, would someone like to bring that forward, please? Brought forward. We got a seconder. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 14.2. Mr. Condor?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Staff are proposing several changes to the zoning bylaw regarding secondary suites and carriage houses. Several zoning bylaw amendments were introduced to council on the April 9th regular council meeting by the then Director of Development Services. Since this date, staff have presented these changes to the district's advisory committees, and staff have separated out the proposed changes related specifically to secondary suites and carriage houses for consideration. And there's four main changes that I'm prepared to go through here fairly briefly. One change is that staff are proposing to allow that secondary suites are allowed on property zoned A2. In November 2017, council approved changes to the zoning bylaw to allow secondary suites on property zoned A1. The proposed bylaw amendment would allow for suites on property zoned A2. This amendment was presented to the district's Agricultural Advisory Committee on April 27th, and the amendment was supported by the AAC. It is proposed that the development regulations of the CR1 zone are updated to state that where a carriage house is located over a garage, the maximum height is the lesser of 7.5 meters or 2 stories. In November 2017, council approved changes to the zoning bylaw that would allow carriage houses in the CR1 zone. This specific regulation wasn't included in that original amendment. Staff are now recommending that this is added, as the same regulation is found in all other residential zones that allow for carriage houses. A minor formatting change is proposed to remove a bracket that says where connected to full urban services, which would apply to the RSD2 and RSD3 zone. This is related to the November 2017 change, which allowed for carriage houses not to be connected to full urban services. This formatting change should have been addressed as part of the initial amendments. And lastly, it's proposed that secondary suites and carriage houses are permitted on property zoned FG, provided that they're not located in the ALR. This would allow for suites on any property zoned FG, and would allow for carriage houses for any property zoned FG, forest grazing, that isn't in the ALR. Secondary suites, I should note, are permitted in the ALR, whereas carriage houses or any other dwelling that's not for farm help is not permitted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, questions of the planner? Councillor Boot?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Conjure, can you just repeat what you just said regarding secondary suites are allowed in the ALR, but carriage houses are not? Is that what you said?
That's exactly correct. So secondary suites, which are commonly referred to as basement suites that are inside of your house, are allowed in the ALR, and that was the reason that we allowed them in the A1 zone. But any dwelling other than your single-family dwelling and suite isn't, that's not for farm use, just isn't allowed in the ALR.
Yeah, especially when you're outside the home site severance. And then I have a question I probably should know the answer to. What's the difference between the district's zoning A1 and A2?
The most significant difference is lot size. So A1 is our small acreage, and the minimum lot size is 2 hectares, whereas the A2 zone is our large acreage zone, and I believe the minimum lot size is...
I'm testing you.
I want to say 20 hectares, but I can double check very fast here.
It's okay, he's finding it out for you.
I thought that you had said something.
It looks like our internet's not down right now.
That's
I'll have to
okay.
get back to you on the specifics.
That's okay, thank
But
you.
the area is larger lot. That's really the main difference.
Okay,
The
so lot
permitted
size.
uses are pretty much the exact same for each zone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? CEO, did you have a comment?
No, I was just thinking Jeremy could probably get him in there if he needs to, but,
I need to.
I think it's not that critical.
no? Okay.
Is
Go
this
ahead.
been brought forward? I will bring it forward as presented.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please, Councillor Peak, thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? Sounds like this cleans up a number of things. All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 14.3. CAO?
That will be Mr. Denninger.
Okay, thank you. So this is a bylaw that is required in order to hold an election. It's required by legislation. The previous election bylaw had not the best wording in it, so we're following a new model that has more fulsome wording about how the process will occur this fall. Better descriptions based on recommendations from various government agencies. There's no significant changes based on previous years being successful. Staff have not proposed any changes to the process, just providing more clarity and ensuring that we're meeting the legislative requirements of the bylaw. If there's any questions, happy to answer.
Okay, Councillor Boot.
Could you clarify, at the end it says 2 additional items are included. Item 2, please.
Yes, this is, again, like the previous election bylaws, it is what's been done before. If there is a tie vote, the Local Government Act, unless it's written differently in an election bylaw, requires that a new vote occur to break the tie versus simply drawing names out of a hat a lot. Right, so most municipalities opt to go for a lot because of the cost and time of having to do a whole new election cycle for that.
So it means that, say if 2 councillors or 2 candidates for mayor get exactly the same vote, it's just draw the name out of the hat?
That's correct.
Wow. Wow.
Excuse me. Can I say something, follow up on that?
Go ahead,
Now,
yeah.
I think I've heard, I can't remember where, some community where, in that the case, that they actually split the term. Where one of the candidates does half the term and the other candidate does the other half. To me, that seems a lot fairer and expresses I know the odds of this being an issue is very slim, but it seems fair, and it would seem to represent the wishes of the public more accurately than just some random thing out of the hat. So I don't know if that would be doable, but to me, that would be a fair way to do it.
What does the legislation say?
I've never heard of that, and the legislation doesn't allow for sharing of seats. It's one person per council position.
Well, you wouldn't share a seat, because one candidate you'd split the term. So it wouldn't be like every other council meeting.
It would still be a split.
For 2 years, one person would do it, and for another 2 years, the other person would do it.
It would still be considered likely, and they can pursue that and check it, but because a seat gets awarded at the beginning of a term, and if there was to be a change, there has to be a by-election, so it would still, in the term of who held the position, the position goes with the person's name, so it would likely be considered shared split. So, and unfortunately, this stuff is very legislated, not unfortunately, but it's very much legislation, so I have definitely heard, I have been where they've had to draw it out of a random lot in the past.
It's interesting.
I think that if council what are you asking for first, second tonight, or?
Yeah.
First, second, and third.
Third. If you do first and second reading and then do third separately, then when it comes back for the next time, they can do the research in between, and they can announce, and then if they found out that somehow that was possible and council wanted to entertain that, you can always rescind third reading and make the amendment to a bylaw if that was something that council was available, but that would allow you to continue moving forward tonight.
So we would rescind first and second.
No, you don't need to rescind first and second if to do an amendment. So if next week, if you pass first, second, and third tonight, but then we
just
came
rescind the third.
forward with an amendment that interests you next week or next council meeting, you would then rescind third reading.
Gotcha. Okay.
Make the amendment, and then pass it if that's what you wanted to do.
Councillor Peak? Councillor Booth?
If you're following up on the same discussion, then let that happen.
No, it's another one. Thank you, Councillor P.
I'd like to say that I believe in special voting opportunities, and the inclusion of that is important to me as a public person within our community.
Councillor Booth?
We had some discussion prior to this about having I don't know what you'd call it, information session or something for others in the community that are not already currently sitting at the table, to be more engaged in the process and how it might work, or how it does work in Summerland. I know that Penticton is doing that. My question is if that is something that needs to be included in the bylaw, or not?
No, definitely not, and it's typically something that council doesn't vote on. Again, this is where it starts to get
Okay.
tricky when it's conflict of interest, and this would be a staff initiative that we would organize it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Councillor Peak?
I'll bring the
Okay, thank
resolutions
you.
forward. I'll bring them forward as stated, that the election and ascending voting bylaw be introduced and read a first and second time, and two, that the election and ascending voting bylaw be read for a third time.
Next seconder, please. Councillor Booth, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, gee, we got all the way to the end. Councillor reports. Councillor Trainer.
I don't have too much to report on. This week is Bike to Work Week, so I will be at the Celebration Station tomorrow. It's in front of the library, and it's from 8 until 9, and the event is actually being renamed to be called Go By Bike, so that more people participate in it, not just people who bike to work. Anybody can participate, and you can still register. You can register anytime this week, and there's lots of prizes, so we're always looking to get our numbers up. And I also wanted to congratulate Summerland Review editor John Art. He got married last weekend, the May long weekend, to one of my very good friends, Kim Lawton, so congratulations.
He's blushing.
Any questions?
A distinct color, John.
Had a great weekend.
Okay, Counselor Barkle.
Attended the Museum Society's monthly meeting. Our CAO, Linda Tynan, gave a presentation. I think that helped the Museum Society quite a bit on how they were fitting into our community. They're doing a lot of good work moving forward and always looking for volunteers.
Counselor Booth.
As you know, I've been away for 3 weeks studying at Railroad University. I did take the time to come home to attend the Hatchery Open House, and I know that there were other counselors there as well. It's really good to be back home. I also attended last week the Summerland Secondary School Entrepreneur Showcase event, the Entrepreneur Club, which was started just last year and includes a number of mentors in town. Dan Dinsmore and Raj Gupta, the physics teacher there. There were 4 students that presented kind of like a Dragon's Den style of presentation, but with private consultation with each of the judges afterwards. These students are absolutely amazing, the ideas that they've come up with, and they're real businesses. So that was pretty impressive. Also impressive, on the following morning, I had been asked some time ago to be one of the judges at the Penticton Secondary School speech competitions for grades 9 through 12. And some of the topics were, fairly lighthearted, but others were not. There was understanding the signs of depression. There was a young Indigenous woman that spoke about murdered and missing Indigenous women and how it has impacted her personally. So the speeches were impressive, but what was totally amazing is, it was a warm morning. There wasn't enough room in Shatford Centre Auditorium for all of the students, so a number of them were lined up around the walls. And you could hear a pin drop when their peers were up there on the stage. There was a real appreciation of how difficult it is to stand up in front of 300 or 400 people and kind of, in some instances, really put your heart out there. So that was amazing. I attended the Cannabis Open House, as a number of people do, and I look forward to, although I'm not going to be running, I'm going to be walking with my dog. I look forward to challenging other councillors to take part in the 5.7K walk with Action Fest Week on Saturday. Thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
I don't have a report tonight.
Mr. Holmes.
No, I just want to, I attended some of the other things as well, but I just wanted to mention, attended with other councillors, Justin Cripps's presentation at the Summerland Secondary School to secondary school and middle school students, and he was very motivational and inspiring for the students. It was quite amazing. And I had the opportunity to talk to him afterwards, and I asked him if we could get one of his bobsleds to put on display somewhere in the community. And much to my delight, he was quite receptive to that idea. He said that he probably couldn't get us the actual gold medal bobsled that he used to, in the race itself. But maybe one of the, he's had about 20 different bobsleds over his bobsledding career. So he said maybe we could get one of his older ones and wrap it up in how it looked in Korea. He was actually quite excited, the idea of having it somewhere in the community where people can take their picture in front of it and everything like that. And I think that would be a really excellent thing that we ought to follow up on. We just have to figure out where to put it. So
this would be one that wasn't smashed up or anything.
Yeah, not that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was great, and he's everything everybody says he is. Yeah. He's really modest.
Yeah, it was an excellent presentation. Actually, a great idea. Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much. Yes, I attended the Business After Business at Thornhaven. I also went to the new show at the Arts and Culture Center. They just had a new opening, and as did other councillors for Justin Cripps. I think that's a marvelous idea. He wasn't just motivational. I spoke to some students afterwards, and there were students as young as 6 years old that remembered things that he said. So when you can impress a 6-year-old with what you have to say about what you did or how you got there, I think that's pretty impressive. He's a very impressive young man, and we're very lucky to have him coming from our community. I also attended the Riga Festival AGM and the students pitching their business plan at center stage. I have to commend the students that participated as well as the ones that actually had a business plan. I thought that they were extremely well spoken, and I want to say thank you to the credit union and the other members of the business community that helped that process along. They did an excellent job. I want to commend our staff at the open house and the cannabis. There were a lot of good comments that came from on our public from that. Also, as with the mayor, I attended the Neighborhood Link fundraising dinner just after that, and also the Fair Trade Expo that was had at the Memorial Park this weekend. And those students and the participants from the community did a really good job on that exposition. Commending words to them as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now's an opportunity for the public to make any comments on anything that strikes them.
Hi, I'm going to address Aaron Trainor's comment about whether there's been any food vendors at Powell Beach. I've lived in the community and been in this community for over 50 years, and I'll tell you, no, never. That was number one. Number two, on the vendors being down at Rotary Beach, and yes, there is limited parking, as you said. Is there a possibility of having them against the row of cedars where there is only maybe 2 or 3 spots, rather than having them using up 2 parking spots in front of the washrooms and that sort of thing, if they are away from the gates, recessed back? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, staff will look at all of those things and keep them in mind.
I'm just letting you. And the other thing I wanted to know, and this is directed at the CAO, you talked about a work priority plan. Is that the same as a work plan for say the utilities or weather, where they do their like a daily work schedule, a weekly work schedule, a monthly work schedule? Is that the same thing? I'm not clear on that one.
Well, it comes out of council, so council passes the financial plan, and that's what the capital plan and the financial plan structures, and their strategic plan structures the priorities for the year. And then internally, I work with all the managers to make sure that we're allocating our work out to make sure that we're accommodating what's been decided in the budget and the strategic plan of council.
Okay, that's different than what I was thinking. I was thinking more along the lines, for example, the utilities department, do they have work schedules, I guess it would be called, where they have, as I said, daily, weekly, or monthly items that they're looking after or taking care of? For example, it might be this week is lawn mowing, or whatever.
Well, absolutely. We all of staff, internally, we all work on schedules and have our priorities, and when priorities have to shift because of things, we shift them around, but we try to stay as structured as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions from the media? Susan? John? Nothing? Okay, can I have a motion for adjournment, please? Councillor Boot? Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay.